Hello and welcome to episode number 57 of Future Chat from Unwind Media. My name is Rob Attrell, and I'm joined each week by my co-host, Mike Attrell. We're also joined by Nick Maddox, our insightful and intelligent senior contributor. Every single week on this show, we aim to discuss all of the week's most interesting science and tech news. Today's episode is brought to you by Audible.com. They have more than 180,000 audiobooks and spoken word audio products. Get a free audiobook of your choice at audibletrial.com/unwind, as in Unwind Media. Their library includes programs from the leading audiobook publishers, broadcasters, entertainers, magazine, and newspaper publishers. So, how you guys doing today?
Christ, what a morning.
What happened?
Other than me thinking that, this was going to happen an hour earlier than it actually was.
Yeah, it sounds like Google Calendar was giving you some issues with time zones.
No, like Google Plus. And there was even inconsistency within the push notification, the app, and the desktop.
Google Calendar was great.
I misunderstood then.
Yeah.
Okay. Huh. Yeah, it might have something to do with the fact that I set the time in Greenwich Mean Time.
That would explain why it shows that.
Even then, though, it converted to
weird.
Eastern Standard.
Yeah, Eastern Standard is not the time zone that is currently in use. That is a weird bug.
Yeah.
But we're here now, and we have a number of stories that are following up on previous week's stories. So why don't we get to those first? And the first big one is Tesla. We talked last week a little bit, and at that point, I think Nick is more coffeed than he was last week. So hopefully we can discuss the Tesla Gigafactory in a little more detail. I read earlier this week that the Tesla Gigafactory is now already now overbooked to make batteries for its Powerwall and obviously the Tesla. It's hoping to make Tesla batteries as well for the Model S and the Model whatever the new cars they have. But they got a bunch of reservations and pre-orders for the Powerwall, and so they're already thinking we're going to have to make another Gigafactory, another big battery factory, in order to meet the demand for batteries. And it turns out the Gigafactory apparently can produce a yearly output of 50 gigawatt hours. So order of magnitude is about right, I guess, within a couple of orders in terms of the yearly output. But apparently over 50,000 Powerwall units were reserved, and they're already sold out through 2016. I've heard through the middle of 2016, and I've heard through 2016 itself. So it seems like people really want the Powerwall, and people are really hungry for new batteries, big batteries. What do you guys think about this?
Do you think people realize what it is they're even going to do with the Powerwall when they get it?
Yeah, I think so.
I'd like to think so, yes.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is
infrastructure work.
What's that?
It's going to take infrastructure work, obviously, but
Yeah. I think a lot of people are jumping on it just because it's Tesla and it's like something they can kind of be involved in. I don't know. Like, you'd think that if there was that much demand for something like it, the market would have responded sooner.
yeah, but at the same time, nobody was doing this before on such a large scale.
Because I guess people right now are going to be using it for the energy banking capabilities as far as eating off the grid and then when it's cheaper and then distributing it when it's more expensive.
Right.
Versus like the solar panel integration aspect. But I'd imagine that would come into play down the road.
Yeah.
When solar panels got a bit more cheap.
Yeah, I mean, another company that Elon Musk founded or co-founded is called SolarCell, and they work with leasing solar panels. So one of the things that came out I guess it was this week or maybe a little bit earlier, is that SolarCell is not partnering with Powerwall. So anyone who wants both is going to have to order them. Like, they're going to have to work totally separately to get both. And you can't lease a Powerwall; you have to buy it. Another thing that I heard, and I couldn't actually verify this, I haven't looked into. I have no interest whatsoever in owning a Powerwall right now because they're just it just doesn't make sense for me. But apparently it's very easy to reserve one. You don't have to put a credit card down or anything. You don't have to put any amount of money
Oh,
down. You just
really?
basically say, I want one.
Oh, that's even worse. That's
I mean, it's
like
huge demand, but yeah.
Well, it's enough demand of clicking a button, not to actually put your money where your mouth
I
is.
don't know if it's clicking a button, but it's filling out a form. It's not difficult. A lot of people can
Right.
do it and not necessarily actually want to buy one
Right.
or be
Yeah.
prepared to buy one, I mean.
Yeah.
if you had the money though, especially in Ontario, you could charge the Powerwall during the off-peak hours at the discount rate, and then just have it go back into the grid at peak hours.
Yep.
Arbitrage. Also,
Oh, like sell it back to the grid?
yeah.
That
Is
would
that
be
a thing?
interesting. I don't think that would necessarily work in the way you're expecting. Like I don't think they would give you
I think they just bank your energy, not at whatever rate.
No,
Yeah.
like if you have a smart meter, it measures what you put in when you
I
put it in,
guess
I
so.
think.
But I feel like they would change that policy to prevent you from doing that.
I don't know. I'm not sure whether they give you money based on demand, but like
Yeah.
you get 18 cents a kilowatt hour, and if you could charge it during off-peak hours and then sell it back to the grid, you would be doing so to profit, I think.
Right. So by
It's
that
like
logic, you could make a business where you buy a bank of batteries.
Yeah. Well, it's like mining
Charge them
Bitcoin.
up, yeah, charge them up off peak
Yeah.
and then sell it back on peak, and that's all you'd be doing.
Yeah.
You'd
yeah,
just be
well, like
yeah.
even in Belleville, like they have for the new rink they put in,
Yeah.
or the sports complex in the summer months, they have a big pool of water on the roof, and then at night when the energy's cheap, they just freeze it,
Right.
and then during the day they pump the air through it, and that's where their air conditioning comes from.
Right.
So like a heat exchange type thing?
Ish, yeah, but it like actually freezes the water overnight.
But you're heat exchanging from the hot air to make it cooler.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm almost certain you could make a profit on that. It's the same feed-in system, unless they've changed it, that the solar cooperative in Ottawa works off of.
Yeah.
Which you both and Ottawa viewers will be familiar with.
Yeah.
Also, I ran the numbers for the production rate right now. Ontario's nuclear plants would have the gigafactory's annual output in, let's see, 5.79 hours.
You said that's the yearly, like that's 50 gigawatt hours in 5 hours.
That's 50 gigawatt hours.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it's as if nuclear is a very good baseline energy source.
Why are we not funding this?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If
So
only people could have little fusion reactors in their homes.
yeah, that would be cool.
Give them a little adorable name, like Mr. Fusion.
Yeah. We're getting into the future territory here now.
Ooh, future chat. Look out.
All right, we have a bit more Tesla news later on, but we'll move on for now to. I just found a story here. We had talked a few weeks ago, if not maybe now about a month ago, about the telescope, the big 30-meter telescope that they're building in Hawaii, using 275 million Canadian dollars. And I'm going to put a link to this essay on Slate about science versus culture, and sort of how the ways that science has kind of bulldozed over some aspects of culture, and how the people, native Hawaiians who are complaining about the telescope and protesting it's being built, it is not really about the telescope itself, but it's about the way science impacts sort of the natural history and the natural culture of a place. And there have been lots of examples throughout history, and they go through a number of these in this essay, just about how sometimes science can ruin or completely destroy culture. So it's worth reading.
When we first talked about this, I can't remember if I brought it up or not, but it reminded me a lot of how in a lot of energy producing provinces and states, you'll have that compromise and conflict between industry and corporations and the local population, and specifically, either Native Canadians or Americans, and how there's always that kind of negotiation between the companies saying, okay, well, there's this resource underneath your land that we need to access by, building a lease and facilities and whatever, and then, the locals will say, well, what's in it for us, right? Because this is our land. There's history here. There's nature, wildlife, that kind of thing. So you lease out the land and you have whatever kind of donations to the community and hire their community members for your projects and that kind of stuff, to kind of acknowledge that they're giving up a lot to allow you to use their land. And I think that people tend to side with the locals and the natives in those types of situations because it's evil corporations and they're just trying to get the oil out of the ground and that kind of thing. But in this case, because it's governments and scientists, which they're still scientists at oil and gas companies, but that's beside the point. Because it's maybe an endeavor that's more research and academic based versus exploitation of resources, that people might tend to side more with the government and the people wanting to build the telescope, but the considerations are still the same, whether it's a telescope or drilling for oil. So I don't know. For me, that was an interesting kind of perspective, I guess.
There was also the issue that they did discuss it publicly. Like,
yeah.
They had public hearings on the matter. And that is when you can raise objections. Like, it's just, I don't know.
Yeah. They did raise objections. They really did.
Yeah. And for the record, with oil and gas, there's public hearings and negotiations with the locals as well. It's not just they don't just bulldoze in there and say, hey, we're going to drill here, whether you like it or not.
Right.
I'm not trying to white knight for Imperial Oil or anything. I'm just trying to give the other side of things.
Well, I mean, what with Rachel Notley in power now? Like, is anyone going to be able to drill ever?
We'll only have to wait and see.
Yeah. All I want to say is I think it's important to look not just from, I mean, obviously we take a perspective that's biased towards science and scientists, but there is another side of things, and maybe if these Native Hawaiians felt like their voice wasn't being heard, even if they did attend these hearings, it's important to note that history has at times completely destroyed ecosystems, and it has ruined some people's lives. So it's not without precedent that this is happening.
Yep.
Yeah. So I guess I'm partial again to Tesla news, and this was of particular interest to me because I don't own a car, but if I was going to own a car, I feel like I would want it to be electric just because of all the amazing benefits. And I don't really go anywhere. Most of the driving I do is in the city. And so news came out this week, or at least in I believe it was the earnings call for Tesla for the last quarter. Elon Musk was asked about the future plans for Tesla Motors, and he set a tentative timeline for the next Tesla model, and it's going to be a cheap one, Tesla Model 3. Apparently, it's going to market for around $30,000 to $35,000 before any rebates you get, which would be very competitive, not just with other electric cars that are slated to be coming out around that time, but it's also very competitive with just gas-powered cars. Apparently, the average selling price for a car in the States is $32,000, and so this falls right in that area. So it would be nice to not have to decide between, like, to have to use financials as a reason not to go electric. So I hope this is something that actually does come out. I mean, he was saying March. He said immediately in the press conference, he said March, and then backed off and said, well, this is an approximate timeline. I'm not setting a shipping date.
Not announcing, yeah.
Yeah. I'm saying that our timeline currently that we're aggressively pursuing is for March of next year.
We had covered a story and I want to say it was Nissan, or is it Ford, that was going to come out with a sub $30,000 electric vehicle.
I want to say it was
Fully
Chevy.
electric.
The Chevy Volt.
No, that one's already a thing. It might have been Chevy.
There's a new sub $30,000.
Yeah. Yeah, it might have been Chevy. I think it was a U.S. company. I want to say it was either Ford or Chevy or whatever. But yeah, I guess at the time we're saying, well, this is kind of giving Tesla a run for its money. But if they're going to kind of start pursuing that same price point, then yeah, like you said, it's going to be interesting to see where the market goes, being competitive with gas vehicles as well.
Yeah. Nick, did you have any thoughts on that? Would you buy an electric car if it was $30,000?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if I had $30,000 to buy a car.
So I guess the answer is no. Not at this point. Maybe.
I am in a state of fun employment, so not buying a whole lot.
As long as it is fun.
Oh, always.
Has anyone looked at the viability of running the electric vehicles in like colder weather, like the operation of the battery if it gets degraded? I'd imagine you'd have some sort of like heaters around the motor, like around the motor or around the battery, to keep it warm.
I would imagine they've taken that into account in testing.
Yeah.
I don't think it would degrade the battery permanently. It might reduce the range a little bit.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm referring to.
Yeah.
Well, there's the Nernst equation will tell you how it affects the potential.
I seriously doubt that it would affect the potential. But there's also the fact that
no, it affects the potential.
No, but I mean in an electric motor, I imagine that battery would heat up or would stay pretty hot. Like while it's charging, it would be hot, and while you're running it, it would at least run a little bit hot. So I doubt that the potential would be affected much.
Yeah, that's true.
To start off, though, it's going to be
I
don't know, reluctant to start maybe, or
maybe
just not really pushing out as much as it could in the beginning.
Yeah. I've only seen Tesla test drives in very nice weather. So commenting on that specifically would be difficult, but I also know that people say it has insane acceleration. So I kind of doubt that, like I feel like they would have taken that into account. At least maybe not frigid weather, like if your gas car won't start, this one probably won't start either. I don't know.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to come out. If I buy a car, I think it'll be electric. We'll have to wait and see what comes up. So, Nick, feel free to pay attention, but Mike, you have a story here about Apple Watch?
Yes. I don't know if people anticipated this or saw coming, but it was a nice story for me to come across that when Apple Watch first came out, we talked about what it could and couldn't do, kind of specifically regarding sensors and that kind of thing. And then a while ago, we had a story about smart bands and how they can be integrated with existing smartwatches, and some smartwatches are allowing those types of integrations to occur. So Apple recently announced that they're going to start their Made for Apple Watch program, and I guess they already have a Made for iPhone program for accessories, which I wasn't super familiar with. I could imagine they'd have it, but I guess it's kind of not as sketchy third party, but it's like Apple saying, yeah, this is okay, or it kind of passes whatever quality tests. So they'll have a similar thing for the Apple Watch bands, that you're not restricted to just the Apple bands, but third parties can kind of come up with their own band designs and materials and that kind of thing. And Apple will provide them with the lug hardware to attach onto the watch. So you're not restricted by coming up with a design that can integrate with it. They'll just say, hey, here's the lugs for it. Give us the watch band that you want to kind of be certified. And then I don't think the article specifically mentioned this that I came across, but it does open the window for the possibility of smart bands kind of entering that market if Apple kind of enables their software to kind of talk to the smart band and use those sensors. So I see it as nothing but good.
Yeah.
Kind of unwalling the walled garden.
This came right after the announcement, like suspiciously closely to the announcement that companies were looking at using the little diagnostic port that's hidden inside the band area to be able to either charge the watch or be able to connect with it in some way, in a similar way to the new Pebble Time. So I think it's convenient that Apple came out with this program. I'm sure they've been working on it for a while, but I think the publishing of it is conspicuously timed with this sort of people saying, "Oh, we're gonna go do this." They're saying, "No, you're not gonna do this, but we will give you this set of tools to work with to make watch bands." I think it's a very similar idea to iPhone cases. So the Made for iPhone program gives people specs of size and durability and all this kind of stuff to get an actual certified Made for iPhone thing. So when you buy a case, you want to know that it's going to protect your phone. So I think that in a similar way, if you buy an Apple Watch band, a band that's not made by Apple, you'd want to at least feel somewhat comfortable that it's going to stay on your wrist, like it's not going to just break or it's not going to be of very low quality. And so I think this is a way for them to not have to. I don't think Apple wants to make a watch band for everyone. They want to make a watch band to fit the majority of people, but then let other people fill in the niches where they may exist. And there might be a space later to add other things like battery. But yeah, another thing that I noticed, in same thing with Tesla, is that batteries heat up. So you wouldn't necessarily want this hot thing on your wrist all day. You might end up getting sort of low-degree burns over the course of a day. Nick, you have something
Niches,
to say?
Rob? Really? Niches?
What do you want me to say? Niche?
Niches?
It's all the same to me.
Voltage.
Is it?
Two different pronunciations.
First voltage and now niche? What do you... Where are you...
I still like voltage.
Yeah, what's...
I still like
What's
it.
going on, Rob? I no doubt that you do.
Yeah, I'm happy with it.
Yeah. Which diagnostic port were you referring to? I hadn't heard of that before.
There's a little. It looks sort of similar to a MagSafe, but it's a port with some electrical pins that is underneath a cover that looks kind of like a SIM tray.
The cover of the watch?
It's underneath, like it's on the inside near where the band is. It might even be inside, like you might have to take the band off to actually see it.
Oh, okay.
But because I haven't seen a watch in close enough detail, so I've only looked at pictures, and I don't remember the context of where it was, but it was right underneath, either right next to where the band clicks in or inside where the band clicks in. So it was accessible to someone who was making a strap. It wouldn't be.
Right.
Yeah.
But the intent of it would be for like an Apple genius to be able to kind of plug something in and get diagnostic info from it.
Right. You're not charging with it in typical situations, but maybe in crazy situations you'd be able to diagnose problems if there was no connectivity to the watch.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm excited. I'm still looking forward to the time when I'm able to get one. Right now it's very difficult no matter what. You would have had to order it within the first few hours of it being announced or being available for pre-order. So we'll see. Maybe in the fall I'll be able to get my hands on one. Depending on when they get into stores, I might walk in and try one for 2 weeks before that, but we'll see.
I remember on Twitter when people started getting theirs, I don't know if they had a hashtag for it, but people were commenting on the number of hairy wrists they were seeing all morning. It was funny.
So many wrists. Yeah. So, Nick, you have a story here. You wanted to talk about, I guess, airships? This UK study they did?
Yeah, rigid airships. I think we talked about this earlier on.
Yeah.
Some episode.
It sounds familiar.
Is it a dirigible?
It's a rigid airship, which is, I think, a dirigible.
You can dirige it, I would assume.
But not a Zeppelin, or however that works.
Isn't Zeppelin just a German word for airship?
No, there is a difference between them as to whether or not they're rigid.
Okay. So what does the study show?
It's not so much. I mean, I think it was interesting, the efficiencies and stuff like that they found, like where to cruise, how fast to cruise, that kind of stuff. But it's basically the most fuel-efficient air transport there is. It's like,
Right.
analogous to freight rail or cargo ships. Like it's not going to get it there instantaneously, but it's going to do it with the best fuel efficiency possible.
Hmm.
But what I found really interesting in this story was that it came out of the UK's University of Lincoln,
Okay.
but it's part of a multinational engineering project. So they've got, I think it's 7 countries coming together to work on this, so that hopefully there will be just a fixed transportation route for these rigid airships to follow. So like shipping lanes kind of thing, just among 7 countries. So I don't know what you would factor into wanting to use this, but you can just have a steady stream of those going along.
Has anyone talked about the potential consequences of giant payloads of cargo crashing to the ground in an accident?
Oh, I listened to a podcast on that recently. It's on the one that former rock star has invested heavily in. But they said like they actually did tests on stuff like that, and they had the thing in a hangar, and they just lit it up with machine guns to just blow through the skin.
Mm-hmm.
But because it's rigid, it's not like it pops. It just, you're limited by diffusion. So I guess they just lit the thing up, and then a few hours later they were still waiting for it to hit the ground from being X high,
Right.
and people
Really?
kind of were getting bored and left.
Huh. That's cool.
That's not good
Yeah.
sign, getting bored.
Getting bored waiting for this crash of cargo to hit the ground. So I mean, apparently there are engineering things in place to deal with it.
That seems crazy.
So it's not going to be the Hindenburg.
Right.
I don't know what pressures these things are at, but it's not like it'll pop. It's just you hit it and the gas will diffuse out, slowly.
Right.
Huh.
Cool.
That just seems like the craziest experiment you could ever do. All right, guys, we got a bunch of machine guns. We got this airship.
Well, because, I mean, honestly, it's a concern. You got to be like,
Yeah.
okay, what happens if someone just tries to destroy this thing with machine guns?
Right.
Well, I mean, there's the scale model. Let's see what happens.
Okay. And it seemed we're bullish on this, I guess. Is bullish the up one?
Yeah.
I never.
Yes. Bulls charge and bears hibernate.
Oh, is that where the bear one came from?
I assume so.
I was wondering what was slow about a bear, but yeah, I guess if it's hibernating, then
That makes sense.
yeah.
What about a bull is slow?
No, that's
Bull
right.
is so
I knew
fast.
bull was the charging one, but it was like, why bear? Like, but that
Right.
makes sense.
Might not be the actual reason, but it's a good way to remember it.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. So the next thing I wanted to talk about here was just a really, really cool study that I saw pop up again and again, because it has a lot of again, we've talked about science, how sometimes studies have buzzwords like cure, and this study has the word nanotube in it. And so it's really
Nano.
So a study came out, where was it? It was a research team, and they were studying spiders in a way not dissimilar to what they did in Spider-Man movies. So they took, apparently it's daddy long-legged spiders, and basically doused them with water, and just regular water, and compared that to dousing them with water that contained nanotubes and graphite flakes. And apparently the spider silk that they make gets way stronger if you have the nanotubes infused in the water that they have. So I don't know. Did you guys see about the story or see the story pop up?
No.
It's very strange that I'm finding, as I get more and more into RSS feeds, I know that I have a ton because every time I go to open my reader, I have like hundreds of stories. And so I tend to see, like, I basically gather every single possible piece of news. And so, like, I'm now writing for Mobile Syrup, the tech site, but I see stories days before sometimes they get posted, and they're like, hey, this is cool. I'm like, yeah, I saw that days ago. Like, I think I should be more upfront, like, posting and talking about these things.
Yeah. Off the record, or for the record, I guess, I've actually seen Mobile Syrup's usually a day or two behind the main stories.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think that's somewhat intentional. They're not trying to be necessarily the first,
Right.
but they're trying to just be consistent and actually cover the story. Not like they're not trying to be the hot scoop.
Right.
But yeah. Anyways, so this story popped up honestly on like 6 or 7 of my feeds. I saw it over and over and over again, and they basically, like, it's a very simple study from at least what I saw. But how did you not see this, Mike? Even like
I know I saw the headline. I didn't read it though.
Oh, okay. So RSS, like even CNET covered it.
Yeah. No, I saw this. Yeah, I saw the headline. Okay. Just yeah.
They said that it's actually the resulting fibers from this are actually stronger than Kevlar, which is what they used to make bulletproof vests. And it wasn't like again, this is sort of the same way they discovered graphene, in that you could get it with Scotch tape, just like take some graphite and use Scotch tape to pull up graphene, like single sheets of graphene. This is the same thing. They just took the carbon nanotubes or graphene and put water in it, and then put the spiders in that water, and the water they ended up using to make their webs contained nanotubes, and so they were way stronger. I just think it's...
Oh, so the spiders were drinking the water to make the web?
Right.
Oh, okay. I was trying to figure out where the water came into play there. I thought it was just like literally like the Spider-Man effect of like being exposed to it, and then they got superpowers.
I would be a little bit more skeptical of that.
Yeah, that's okay. That makes more sense.
Yeah.
So they're drinking the nanotubes essentially.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess it was MIT that did this. They're saying it was in the MIT Technology Review. So, but it's really cool, and they had done stuff with. This is way back when I first started really getting interested in science news and getting into RSS feeds. When they did, they infused they infused goats' DNA with spider DNA, and were able to get goats to make really strong. They were able basically to mass produce spider silk from goats, and yeah, so I thought it was really interesting that they were able to do this. And I again, so with all of this kind of science stuff, that this is the first step, and we probably won't see the actual real effects of what this could do for another 10 or 15 years, but I think it's a really cool thing to talk about.
I'm always when these things come up about, this material being strongest than whatever, I'm always curious about how it can scale. Yeah. Because they say it was stronger than whatever, but that's on a per unit length or mass basis, right? But it's not like you can scale this to make like buildings out of it or ropes or that kind of thing, because this is spider silk. It's not anything that you can really use anything for. But yeah, it'd be cool if they can actually scale it and apply it to something.
Yeah. So Mike, you have a story you want to talk about Canada Post. What's going on with them?
Yeah, it was interesting. From reading some of the comments on the articles, this isn't entirely new, but I always thought it would be a good idea to be able to use, like, everyone orders stuff online, and they put in their home address, and then they have to either wait around for the delivery guy or hope that they actually leave a note to pick it up or that kind of thing. And then you have to go to the post office anyway, so it's like, well, why not just send it right to the post office? So it sounds like Canada Post is actually allowing people to sign up for a program that you can use a Canada Post office address to have your stuff delivered to, and then you just pick it up right from there instead of having to have it come to your house and left on your doorstep or someone else sign for it or whatever, because that can be fairly unreliable. So it's good change of the times, I guess, that you're now able to have stuff sent right to a post office than a home address. So I just thought it was something worth mentioning, kind of half PSA, half it was good to see. I don't know what your guys' thoughts, what your experience has been for ordering stuff.
I hate ordering stuff. One of the reasons that I've stopped ordering as much stuff online as I do is because delivery is so annoying.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be home during the day anytime when they have an actual delivery window, so I would actually benefit from this. Our post box, like we're on the new post.
Like the neighborhood
Yeah,
mailbox.
so we
Yeah.
have like half a block away. We have a bank of like 90 or 100 mailboxes all in one big box. But there's also a parcel box within that thing. And so what they can do is give you, I don't know if it's actually, I've never actually used it.
Yeah, it's a key. It's a
Yeah,
key
there's
on
a
the
key
logo.
that comes in your mailbox and you can open the parcel thing and then just take the package out and I guess deposit the key in.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good system, but it doesn't work for, again, really like bigger things. It's mainly for small parcels. But this is a business idea I had a couple years ago, is having like a place, not like a UPS store because that works
Oh,
for some people.
for Amazon, you said, on like
Yeah, well, any kind of online delivery.
yeah.
College campuses could have a place that they would just drop off packages during the day for students that were doing it. But I mean, it would work for anyone. The college campus is just a way that there's a bunch of concentrated people who are all going to be able to benefit from the service. But one of the biggest things that's holding back delivery is how it's well suited to businesses, but it hasn't made any sort of attempts to transfer to people who are not home during the day, Monday to Friday.
Yeah.
So like everyone.
Pretty much, yeah, except for businesses. Like if personal delivery, it doesn't work at all. You either have to have it delivered to your business, or they have to leave. Like one of my neighbors, they order a lot of stuff online, and it's literally just every other day there's something left on their doorstep with a barcode on it. So I guess it works for some people, but yeah, it's interesting, and I hope this does work because being able to, I mean, obviously it's not like this is a new thing. They're basically making it more robust. You've been able to have things delivered to a Canada Post Office for a really long time, but it's not like they would deliver it to the post office. They would try to deliver it to you and leave a tag on your door saying it's now at this nearby post office.
Yep.
And so yeah, if they're trying to make this more robust, then I can't see that as anything but good. And obviously I'm going to wait to see until this is implemented before I actually use it. But anything that can make delivery easier will make a lot more people use delivery and will make the whole thing fine. So Nick, sorry.
I was going to say I'm glad to see that because like their letter service right now is just awful.
The letter service is okay, isn't it?
I've never had issues with it.
We've sent a lot of letters, and a lot of letters either just come through weeks after they should, or just never.
Really? Maybe you don't send enough letters to notice.
I mean, Kaya sends a lot of letters, so it's... Yeah.
I've sent red checks.
Take your word for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever mailed a letter. Like, I don't think I've ever written a letter, folded it up, put it in an envelope, and mailed it to someone.
Oh, you're missing out on one of life's pleasures.
Am I, though?
I don't know. I like it.
So, Nick, you have a lot of transportation news this week. What do you have to say about self-driving trucks?
They are now authorized to travel on some U.S. highways.
Nice.
The close maneuvering still has to be done by a human, which I guess makes sense. But yeah, their Freightliner debuted a self-driving like 18-wheeler in Arizona this week, I guess. Exciting times because I mean, I feel like that's part of the transportation industry that could really do with some automation.
Yeah, and faster than I would have thought that this is happening.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a lot of the highway stuff isn't really terribly complicated, and it could probably benefit from automation.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I mean, just because people can get bored, and that would absolutely happen. Although I'm curious, because especially in Ontario on the 401, there are a couple spots where you go up it's not a huge hill, but it's sizable for a loaded 18-wheeler. And so a lot of times you'll see them, one truck will start trying to pass another as soon as the other one hits a hill and slows down slightly. But then they both hit the incline and they both slow down dramatically, and they're throttled, so they can't travel past like 105 kilometers per hour or something like that. Mm-hmm. And that just causes a traffic jam behind it.
Yeah.
You just see people backed up waiting for these trucks that are now traveling between like 80 and 90 to actually summit this stupid hill.
Right.
And they didn't have the foresight to leave the passing lane open. So I'm curious to see how self-driving trucks might deal with something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious about the mechanism that they're using, because the course scale navigation of GPS, you can't navigate between like lane changes or just even staying between the lines, right? Like you can anticipate when a turn's coming up, but you're not going to be able to fine tune.
Well, that would be more like onboard computers dealing with traffic and GPS coordinates just for navigation purposes.
Right, so you'd have to have some sort of optic system to sense what cars are next to you or the lines on the road or that kind of thing.
Yeah, so, and that's what all self-driving cars have.
Right. Okay, so this isn't just, now we can steer by GPS. They're actually legitimately integrating that type of... Okay, cool.
The article I saw was kind of scant on details, but the picture of the driver looks as though there's some onboard computers.
Okay.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
As he sits back and reads his iPad. Which, I don't know, that seems like it would be a great job.
Yeah. It says the four things main things it says that the truck will do to drive itself is stay at the speed limit, or I guess slightly under it, in its own lane, a safe distance from other vehicles, and respond to traffic conditions or road conditions.
Yeah. Cool.
The interesting thing to me is going to be because this is kind of an inevitable transition as self-driving technology becomes better. But the thing that's going to be interesting to me is how the actual companies that have these self-driving cars address the issue of people being uncomfortable driving around them. So I think you'd have to have the fact that it is a self-driven car identified,
right,
somehow, to make it very obvious to drivers around it that it's computer controlling it, because otherwise you're going to start to think, which of these is driving itself, and is it just going to suddenly lose control if there's a glitch or something?
Is that just like unnecessary technophobia being encouraged, though?
I don't think so. I think
if you can't tell, then who cares? You shouldn't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, in an ideal world, I think just during a transition period, you want people to have a level of comfort that this is be on the lookout, that because if there's even a 0.1% glitch rate per 100 miles, let's say, that's going to be terrifying to every driver everywhere. So I think that during the transition, it'd be nice to just have people know that this is happening, and be able to be confident to see that, I can't even tell that this is a self-driving truck. It's cool that it's like perfectly in control. But because like I was driving, or I was a passenger in a car about 6 weeks ago, and we were passing, or we were trying to pass a semi-trailer, and all of a sudden one of its wheels started like violently wobbling. Like it was about to lose a tire, it seemed like. And immediately, like I've seen horror stories and videos of truck tires flying off and hitting cars. So immediately I was like, okay, like I alerted Julia to the problem, the fact that was happening. I was like, just stay back, like cautiously go around it, and we'll probably be fine. It was slowing down dramatically as this was happening, so it was like it wasn't a huge risk of it happening, and it eventually kind of stopped going crazy. So it seemed like it was either going to get off the highway or, I guess, crazily keep going and hoping it wasn't an issue. But we just sort of gave it a wide berth, went past it, and we're fine.
Right.
Like, you don't know if that truck's going to lose control all of a sudden, but it's comforting to know that even though this truck doesn't have a driver, yes, it's going to be fine. It's going to be able to make this trip.
Yeah. I think on the note of being aware if it's self-driving or not, I think in all the stories we've covered about self-driving cars and in the research that I've heard reported, time and time again, self-driving cars are shown to be safer and more reliable than human drivers.
Right. Yeah.
Like for myself, even in my own experience driving, there have been in the past, week or two, like lots of times where like I had a lapse in paying attention or not seeing my blind spot enough or just, being tired at the wheel and not like just being fully in it or whatever. And it's like a computer doesn't get tired. A computer doesn't miss a blind spot. Like those are human things, but you're not constantly driving around saying, "Oh, is that guy paying attention? Is that guy paying attention? Is that guy tired? Is that guy drunk?" Like you're not paranoid, right? So that's why I don't think it's necessarily beneficial to instill on people, oh well, we should be aware and worried about these self-driving vehicles.
How much more money could bars make if you could just be like, no, I'm not even sitting in the driver's seat. Like, my car is just going to take me home. It'll be okay.
Yeah.
Well, see, and that's the other thing. You'd still need a sober, competent driver, like an operator of that self-driving vehicle.
If you can't get out, okay, Google, take me home. Yeah.
I bet even distracted driving laws would still apply for self-driving vehicles.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you can't just have someone in there just not paying attention because you still need that person in there.
That is the implication. Like, people are reading while the car takes them somewhere in all the like live dramatizations that you see.
Yeah. But I don't know if that'd be the...
maybe you're there enough that you can like put down whatever you're doing and take over in the event of a lapse or something. But the other thing I was going to say is from driving on Alberta's highways recently, one thing I think would be good for automated driving is paying attention to the speed limit because QE2 is so long and so flat and so wide. Just look down at the speedometer every once in a while and go, whoo, I need to slow down now.
The unofficial speed limit on QE2 is 110. Actually, no, that's the unofficial normal driving speed. One. What's that?
That's the official posted one.
No, the official one's 100.
I remember seeing 110.
No.
Like between Alberta and Edmonton, or Calgary and Edmonton somewhere.
Outside of Calgary, yeah, but when you're in the city, it's 100.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but everyone else goes 110 anyway, and then the people speeding are going like 120, 130.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you're not going 110, people are passing you constantly.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing to keep in mind as we transition to self-driving cars is the fact that if you have a self-driving car, people will want a human to be responsible for what happens to that car.
Yeah.
So if you're not paying attention and your self-driving car crashes, they're not going to blame the car, they're going to blame you. Even if self-driving cars are way safer overall than humans, people will want people to blame for things going wrong.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's where the distracted driving thing will come in. You will still need to be responsible for the safety of the car, even if you're not the one making the changes or if you're not the one driving it safely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, I had something and now it's gone. Oh wait, no. I was gonna say like maybe this will also be an impetus to revise the posted speed limits places. Yeah. Because a lot of roads are engineered for speeds way over what they actually are. And a lot of speed limits in Ontario anyway, like the speed limits are for worst or like bad conditions.
Yeah.
So the 401 is engineered in most places for 120 or the equivalent of 70 miles per hour.
Yeah.
But they hacked it back for the OPEC crisis. And my understanding is they haven't raised it for safety concerns.
Yeah.
But now, between Toronto and Trenton anyway, the de facto speed limit is 120. Like if you're going significantly under 120, you're impeding the traffic around you and causing an effective jam.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It'd be nice to see, or even like the Sea to Sky Highway in Vancouver. I think they widened it by a couple lanes and made it bigger and flatter, and they kept the speed limit the same.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the thing's now engineered for like 80 to 100 kilometers per hour, but we're sticking with 50. It's like,
Yeah.
it's a great idea, guys.
There's a couple east-west highways in Calgary like that too. Like Glenmore could be faster, but it's set for 80. Parts of Crowchild could probably be higher, but it's like 70. Like there's various. Deerfoot's the only one that's 100, but you could easily make others 90 or 100. But
yeah, I think as more roads become, or as more cars become self-driving, we'll have to kind of adjust our expectations for speeds, because if a car is able to automatically adjust for speed, or for conditions, it's able to adjust speed for conditions, then it will know to drive slower during a snowstorm.
Right.
Because I think it would be fine if highways in Alberta are flat and straight for the most part, and they have gentle banking curves if they do curve. So you could have a speed limit of 120 or 130 or even possibly 140 in some places with no danger, but like during like a dry summer day. But during the winter you can't. But they can't have like seasonal speed limit changes, so they have to err on the side of the worst possible conditions.
And I think they said that was something that the sensors took account. Into account the road conditions.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that the posted speeds are worse conditions. I'd say they're still designed for under ideal conditions, but they're underestimating the maximum allowable speed.
Yeah, because they can't adjust on the fly based on if it's a perfect day and there's no traffic. There's very little to no danger of going 30 kilometers faster, 30 kilometers an hour faster.
Well, yeah. Apparently, like the way that you're supposed to do it, or the way it's classically done, is you take off the speed limits. You let cars just drive at what they feel comfortable, and then you make the limit the 85th percentile.
Interesting.
So you're still giving 15% cushion?
No, you're saying, okay, you're the top 15%, maybe you could slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
But the vast majority of cars are traveling this speed or lower.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, the idea being that people are actually driving lower than the speed limit.
Yeah.
Right. Makes sense.
That's pretty good. I'd never heard that before, but that makes sense.
There are also some experiments being done in like downtowns and places like that where they've just taken off the speed limits and they found people actually drive slower.
Okay. Yeah. I've heard like traffic is generally 100% safer when there's no signage whatsoever, and you have to actually pay attention to your surroundings to get.
Yeah, instead of like looking over like way over here at signs, like actually looking at the road and the people around you. Yeah, it's crazy how that works.
Yeah, like unless I'm on a highway, I'm never really even close to the speed limit. Like when I'm downtown, I'm not like, keeping my speed under 50. It's like I'm crawling at 30 anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm. That's like that speed limit is totally helpful, but
yeah, exactly.
I'm cruising along at 20 right now, so.
Yeah. All right, you guys. It seems we've come to a junction, so to speak. Ha 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 ha. Nick, you have to go. Mike, do you want to keep going, or do you want to end it for this week?
I don't know. Did you have another story you wanted to cover before you left?
I feel like after an hour is when we really start to loosen up and get to interesting things, but I don't have anything that I need to get to this week. So I'm fine stopping it.
Yeah, I'm good to stop.
Okay. In that case, thank you very much for listening to this week's Future Chat. I'd especially like to thank Audible.com one more time again for helping to support the podcast. Don't forget that you can help us out by visiting audibletrial.com/unwind right now, and that will start you off on a free 30-day trial as well as a free audiobook. We'll be back next week with more science and tech talk, and in the meantime, we are now, or at least the newest episodes are on SoundCloud. We'll be transitioning the back 50, I guess, or so to SoundCloud in the coming weeks. But go check us out at soundcloud.com/unwindmedia. You'll be able to listen to episodes, and you can actually go and comment at specific times if you have something interesting to add to the commentary. We'd love to have your comments there or anywhere else. And you can find past episodes of this show and more at futurechat.me on the web. See you guys next time.
See you guys.
Bye, guys.